Radio.
Sharon Osbourne has released an explosive statement around the earliest known recordings from Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward. The tapes were recorded before Black Sabbath existed, back when the young Brummie musicians performed under the name Earth. Now, decades later, former manager Jim Simpson wants to release them as a full album. So, in this video, we're going to look at what both sides are saying and why this has triggered one of the biggest disputes in Black Sabbath's history. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here, but if you want to read all of the statements in full, I've linked to them in the description of this video. So the story ignited when Black Sabbath's former manager from 1968 to 1970, Jim Simpson, issued a press release to the media responding to comments Sharon Osbourne made on the Osbournes podcast. In that release, he said, "It was a shame Sharon had decided to go all out on the attack without sitting down to talk about this. It's also very unfair of her to make such inaccurate and potentially defamatory comments." Simpson, now in his late 80s, says he originally paid for the recordings when the band were in their late teens. He claims to have restored and remastered the tracks and that the album is delayed because of what he called Sharon's threat to sue. He also addressed the label behind the release, Big Bear Records, which he founded, stating, "The label for Earth, the legendary Lost Tapes, is actually on Big Bear Records, the UK's longest established independent recording company that I have owned and operated since 1968. I am in the process of relaunching Big Bear Records in a new distribution partnership with Trapeze Music and Entertainment Limited, a well-established company with a huge catalogue including the likes of Johnny Cash, Buddy Holly, Marlene Dietrich, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Digby Fairweather, and hundreds of other artists. They may not be what Sharon calls a major, but they are certainly not little." Sharon responded publicly the next day with a detailed statement and several of Simpson's emails. She opened by saying, "In response to Jim Simpson's press release of the 14th of November 2025, I am enclosing his original email to Tony Iommi and my subsequent emails to Mr. Simpson. As you can see, my emails to Mr. Simpson were not threatening. I was clearly stating the facts about Black Sabbath's legal position." She went on to challenge Simpson's claims about his label Big Bear Records, saying, "Regarding his claim that Big Bear Records is the longest running independent record label in the UK, this is a false claim. Topic Records is a British folk music label. It began as an offshoot of the Workers' Music Association in 1939, making it the oldest independent record label in the world. It still operates today. Big Bear is not even a limited company and does not file open accounts in public." Sharon then pointed to Simpson's new distribution partner, Trapeze Music, raising concerns about its financial and legal status. "Let it be known that Trapeze Music is an out-of-copyright UK-based label that is in debt for £539,000 and the entertainment division is in debt for £1.4 million. She would also criticise the company for how it handled Black Sabbath material. "These artist recordings," he mentions, "appear not to be out of copyright in the USA, but Trapeze sells through a US domestic import distributor called MVD, who they claim inadvertently put the Black Sabbath recordings online digitally in the USA and then quickly withdrew them when Simpson's lawyers were told the Black Sabbath material is not out of copyright." Another major issue that Sharon raised in the statement was about royalties, and on the Osbournes podcast she said, "He's kept it quiet for all these years because they're now out of copyright, which is 50 years. Now, for context, I think this is where the real nucleus of the issue comes down to, because it seems that the Earth tapes could potentially be out of copyright, but the Black Sabbath material isn't out of copyright. Anyway, Sharon continued on the podcast saying, "He's never said you'll get a royalty, not one penny. He thinks he's going to put out these tapes and he's going to get 100% of everything. You are a pig, you want it all." Simpson pushed back on that claim, saying he had been busy with other projects and releases and there wasn't any attempt to hide the recordings. "The truth is that when Black Sabbath walked out of my management contract, I turned my hand to rediscovering a total of 35 neglected Black American bluesmen, touring them through the UK and Europe and recording them. In the early 1980s, I got more deeply involved in jazz, launching the Birmingham Jazz and Blues Festival and publishing the Jazz Rag. I always intended to release the Earth records. I approached the members of the band about this on the 24th of September 2024. The message I got back was that they didn't want it released and wanted nothing to do with it. This included 2 very threatening emails from Sharon, but the band had every chance to be involved. The fact is that I did pay for the Earth recordings, and they belong to me. Simpson also spoke further about the recordings themselves, saying that they are an important historical musical moment. The Earth tapes contain recordings that clearly demonstrate what fine music Ozzy, Tony, Geezer, and Bill were producing right from the very beginning in their pre-Sabbath days. It shows how these 4 young men from Birmingham, barely out of their teens, were already remarkable musicians when they existed as Earth, and that they fully deserved all the success that was to come their way as Black Sabbath. If we can finally release this album, it will be a great gift to the music world and to millions of Sabbath fans. Sharon Osbourne would end her statement by saying, "We would have never allowed any Black Sabbath product to be released through Big Bear Records or Trapeze Music, and at no time did Simpson ever offer the band royalties, and he has continuously refused to let Black Sabbath hear the recordings that he claims are his. Their integrity is dubious." Mr. Simpson may claim that he invited me to have a coffee with him on the 4th of July 2025, but I was out of contact, which he well knew, as I was at Villa Park at soundcheck all day, and I later heard that Mr. Simpson was busy that day doing a Q&A about his time managing Black Sabbath from 1968 to 1970 at a pub called Ye Old Foundry in Dudley for personal commercial gain. So this doesn't feel like it's going away anytime soon, and I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but to me it seems like the real crux of the issue is where the copyright falls under. Do these recordings fall under the copyright of Black Sabbath, or do they exist as a separate entity under Earth? If you are a music lawyer, I'd love to get your thoughts and drop us a comment. But if you're actually wondering what is on the Earth recordings, well, the Earth Legendary Lost Tapes is said to include 3 blues covers titled Blue Suede Shoes, Evening, and Wee Wee Baby, along with 2 versions of a track called Song for Jim, which Jim says is named directly after him. The first version features Tony Iommi on guitar, while the second includes a rare flute performance. The collection also contains an untitled piece and 3 additional tracks: Free Man, Wicked World, and Warning. So whether these tapes will ever get a proper release is impending now on a legal fight that's being played out both in public and behind the scenes, so we'll just have to see what happens as this story develops. But what do you think? Should Jim release the recordings, or should he respect Sabbath's wishes and keep them locked in the vault? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And before you head off, don't forget to subscribe with notifications on. It really helps support what we do here at Primordial, and if you'd like to check out our radio station where we play bands like Black Sabbath, you can listen 24/7 at primordialradio.com.